There was a moment in the service when a little boy stood up, 8 years old, in a suit, and what happened next left everyone in that Georgia church completely unable to hold themselves together. Peabo Bryson transitioned peacefully on June 2, 2026, surrounded by the love of his family and those closest to him. He was 75 years old. He left behind his wife Tanya, their 8-year-old son Robert, known to his family as Kitt, his adult daughter Linda, and 3 grandchildren. The family said, "For more than 5 decades, Peabo's extraordinary voice served as the soundtrack to some of life's most cherished moments. His music carried generations through joyful celebrations, great love stories, and enduring moments of comfort and inspiration, creating a legacy that will forever live in the hearts of those who loved him and the countless lives he touched through song." The celebration of life was held in Marietta, Georgia, the state where Peabo built his final chapter, where he married Tanya, where Robert was born, where he transitioned peacefully at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday evening surrounded by the people who loved him most. And when Robert stood up, when Kitt walked to the front of that room, the service became something that nobody who was there will ever fully find the words to describe. Before his father's passing, a video had already gone viral, footage of Robert singing alongside his dad. Fans who saw it were overwhelmed. "He stole his father's entire face," wrote one. Another added, "My heart absolutely breaks for Kitt. He owns that stage already. He owns that stage already." An 8-year-old boy who looks exactly like his father, who sings with the same warmth and the same ease and the same complete comfort in front of a microphone that Peabo Bryson had from the moment he first found his voice at 14 years old. And now that boy is in a church in Georgia, in a suit, at his father's funeral, about to do the thing his father showed him how to do, not as a performance, not for a camera, but because when a man spends his whole life putting music into the world, and then that man is gone, sometimes the only true tribute is to use the voice he gave you. Robert sang, for his father, in front of a room full of people who had loved Peabo Bryson for 50 years, who had danced at their weddings to his songs, who had cried in their cars to his voice, who had felt seen and understood by the specific warmth of a man from Greenville who started singing at 14 and never stopped. And every single one of them was in tears. Tanya was in that front row, the woman who married him in 2010, who was beside him when the stroke arrived, who was with him on that Tuesday evening at 5 o'clock when he transitioned peacefully with the family around him, who has now spent every day since navigating the impossible dual weight of her own grief, and an 8-year-old boy who still does not fully understand what peacefully means when you are 8 years old and your dad is not coming back. She held it together for Robert, because that is what mothers do, and because Peabo Bryson would have wanted her to hold it together, not as suppression of grief, but as the specific, deliberate act of love that says, "I will be here. I will keep going. I will make sure this boy grows up knowing exactly who his father was." Linda was there, his adult daughter, who grew up in a different chapter of Peabo's life, who knew the younger version, the one who was cutting records and building a career and finding his way to the duets that would define his legacy, who is now standing in the same funeral room as an 8-year-old half-brother who has her father's face and her father's voice and a whole life ahead of him. Regina Bell, his official duet partner, the woman who called him like a brother, who said the hardest part of this moment is knowing she will never be able to sing again with the person who helped her create such magic, stood before the room. She sang. Of course she sang. Because what else do you do when you have lost the voice that completed yours? You use the voice you have left. You stand in the room that feels most wrong without him, and you put the music into the air anyway, because that is what he would have done. That is what he always did. Peabo Bryson once said of his 2 favorite people in the world, Roberta Flack and Celine Dion, "I adore being in her spiritual light. I adore being close to her talent and gifts. She's just extraordinary and exquisite in every single way. They represent whatever is quintessential in female vocalists, artists, and musicians. He adored them, and they are now grieving him. Both of them. Saline from the other side of the Atlantic, posting the 1993 photograph and writing 5 sentences that stopped the internet. Regina in the room itself, standing before the congregation, singing for the man who told her she was one of the 2 most important people in his world. Peabo Bryson's final album, Grace, produced by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, was slated for release this year. Grace, his final record, was called Grace, released in the year he left. The last word he put into the world not as a goodbye, but as a continuation. As if even in the final title, something was pointing toward the quality that defined everything Peabo Bryson ever gave to music. Not just the voice, the grace, the specific, unhurried, completely genuine warmth of a man who sang like he had all the time in the world, and who used that time to make people feel loved. The family statement chose those words carefully. His music carried generations through joyful celebrations, great love stories, and enduring moments of comfort and inspiration. Joyful celebrations, great love stories, enduring moments of comfort and inspiration. That is the catalog of Peabo Bryson, not in chart positions or Grammy trophies, but in the specific human moments that his music accompanied. The first dance at the wedding, the anniversary dinner, the quiet night when someone needed to hear something that said, "You are not alone in this." He gave that to millions of people he never met, for 50 years, without stopping. All the way to the Golden Touch Tour in November 2025, his final concert series, celebrating 50 years in music, delivering every song like it was opening night. And then Kitt stood up in a church in Georgia, in his father's suit, with his father's face, and his father's voice. And the whole room understood all at once, completely, that the music was not going to stop, that it had been passed to the next generation, that an 8-year-old boy named Robert had inherited the most extraordinary thing a father can leave his child. Not a legacy, a voice. Peabo Bryson, April 13, 1951, June 2, 2026. Survived by his wife Tanya, his son Robert, his daughter Linda, and 3 grandchildren. A whole new world. He helped us hear it. And Kitt, when you are ready, we will be listening. Thank you for watching.